As Yuri Orlov, Nicolas Cage, stands in a sea of discarded shell casings, the film opens. Orlov narrates his early days as an armaments dealer via voiceover. When he was a small boy, Yuri and his family emigrated to the United States from Soviet Ukraine. His family makes up for him Jews in order to benefit from immigration conditions and flee the Soviets. Since people must eat, Yuri sees his family's restaurant as fulfilling a need. Yuri chooses to offer guns after witnessing a Ukrainian mafia lord kill two would-be assassins. He starts out by selling Uzis. Together with his brother Vitaly, Jared Leto, Yuri forms a team. He approaches veteran guns dealer Simeon Weiss, Ian Holm, with a business proposition during an arms expo in Berlin before starting his career. Weiss rejects him and calls Yuri an amateur. After the 1982 Lebanon War, Yuri gets his first break selling M16s and goes on to establish himself as an equal opportunity merchant of death, providing weapons to all sides. Yuri creates many identities, each with the necessary documentation and identification cards, and keeps all of his records and papers in a metal security container. As he matures, Yuri recounts his first encounter with Jack Valentine, Ethan Hawke, an Interpol agent who cannot be bought with money. When Yuri is on the ship Crystal transporting a batch of guns, they first run across each other. When he finds out that Valentine is after him, he renames the boat Kono, and their first encounter goes according to plan in Yuri's favor. Yuri receives cocaine as payment during a business transaction with a Colombian drug lord rather than cash. After being shot, he protests but eventually accepts the cash. He and Vitaly both get high on cocaine, but once Vitaly develops an addiction, Yuri admits him to a recovery facility. He starts running his armaments company alone after that. Soon later, he starts dating model Ava Fontaine, Bridget Moynihan. To ensure they have the entire region to themselves, he arranges a picture shoot and books the entire hotel. They get married after impressing her, and they subsequently have a son named Nikolai. The Soviet Union disintegrates the day Nikolai learns to walk. After seeing Gorbachev's retirement address on television on Christmas Day 1991, Yuri makes a hasty trip to Ukraine. He gets in touch with his uncle Dmitry, a former Soviet army commander, and starts purchasing his tanks and AK-47s to increase his stockpile, explaining in great detail why the AK-47 is the most dependable assault rifle in the entire globe. Weiss returns and tries to talk to both Yuri and Dmitry, but both reject him. As Yuri attempts to ship off a Mi-24, Valentine once more tries to stop him. Fortunately, a young Soviet army mechanic is able to remove the weapons, so Valentine is forced to let him go because of an international law loophole that does not classify either of them as weapons of war as long as they are shipped separately. Weiss plants a vehicle bomb shortly after, and Dmitry is killed as a result. Yuri then sells weapons to André Baptiste, the Liberian dictator from West Africa, who is paid with blood diamonds, Eamon Walker. Valentine discovers that Yuri will be making a cargo run to Sierra Leone after searching through his trash. Valentine successfully intercepts the jet with fighter planes, but before Valentine can find and imprison him, Yuri makes an emergency landing on a gravel road and distributes all the weapons to the nearby peasants. Valentine binds Yuri and holds him captive for a full day before being compelled to let him go. Back in Monrovia, Baptiste asks Yuri to kill the prisoner Weiss, who only says he came to the country to sell weapons to Baptiste's foes. Yuri travels back to Monrovia. Even though Yuri is hesitant, he waits to order Baptiste to put down the gun until Weiss has been dispatched. Later, Weiss makes an appearance in a drug-induced hallucination and urges Yuri to take sides once more. Valentine monitors Yuri, and one day he tells his wife Ava that Yuri is a significant weapons dealer. When Ava begs Yuri to stop, he agrees and decides to use the riches of other countries instead. He dislikes the industry, though, claiming that there is too much competition and low profit margins when compared to illicit weaponry. When Baptiste contacts him, Yuri enters the guns market once more. When Baptiste assures him that he will pay more than the going rate, he reluctantly agrees to go. Due to his concerns about the situation in Liberia, Yuri decides to invite Vitaly along. However, they subsequently discover that the auction is actually taking place in Sierra Leone. Vitaly warns Yuri that if the trade goes through, the entire community would be killed after witnessing several locals beating a mother and her child to death during the transaction. He begs Yuri to halt the deal, but Yuri insists that it is not a matter between them. In response, Vitaly grabs a grenade and destroys a truck containing half the firearms. Vitaly is fatally shot by a security who is observing the exchange. Even yet, Yuri agrees to the arrangement, which results in the massacre of the entire community. Yuri transports his brother's remains back to the United States. He hires someone to remove the lead from Vitaly's body, but there is still one bullet, and customs stops him. Ava discovers Yuri's security container, which is undeniable proof of Yuri's armaments dealing, while being pursued by Jack Valentine. After taking their son, Ava abandons him. Both of my sons are deceased, my mother tells me when I phone them. Yuri is taken into custody by Valentine, who informs him that he faces a lengthy prison term. Valentine learns from Yuri that the very things that should get him put in jail also get him out on bail. His existence is a necessary evil because the people he serves are frequently the enemies of your enemies, enemies of the United States. He continues by adding that the U.S. government occasionally requires a freelancer like him to supply people they'd rather not be seen to feed. Then, Yuri foresees that a senior officer will arrive, congratulate Valentine, and then tell him to release Yuri due to his need. Unsurprisingly, a senior officer does indeed arrive, and Yuri is let go. He resumes selling weaponry after regaining his freedom. The film finishes by stating that it is based on actual events, and that the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, are the world's top arms suppliers, despite the fact that private arms trade is rife around the world.